Shane joining us from the Fauna Rescue team. Welcome.
Thanks,
Hi, Bianca. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you both. So today we're going to talk about the bat colonies, all things bats, and the work that you ladies do. So if you could just start off by doing a brief intro about what you do and how you got involved in this.
Okay, well, I'm Shane and I've been with Fauna Rescue for about 9 years in the bat team, and along with Pauline, when we were going out doing rescues and things, we were talking to people who had some really peculiar ideas and notions about bats, and hearing a lot of the things they hear on the media, and we just found there was a huge need for education on bats. So we decided to start up the Talking Batty education team. So as well as we do the hotline, 24-hour hotline, as well as doing rescues and caring for them, raising babies when it's not baby season, so our quieter season, then is when we go out and do all the education. So many different programs we've got, and so we're busy all year round.
Excellent, that's good.
Yes.
They need that support. The bats need that voice. They don't have the voice, and you're the voice for them.
We certainly are.
Doing it, yeah. And I'm Pauline, and ditto to everything that Shane said, except that I'm in my 5th year, so a lot of catching up to do. I've learned a lot from Shane, so working with her has been great, and we just love going out in the community. Like this weekend, we had the Paynham group at the One Planet Market, and oh my God, they were just a fantastic group. And you walk away and your heart is so much bigger. You just feel that you've actually made a difference to a lot of people, because they come up afterwards and speak to you. That makes us keep going. We just keep going.
And it always leads to something else. Whenever we do any event, it always leads to something else. Somebody will say, "Oh, I'm a teacher, can you come to our school?" Or, you know, there's always something that leads on from it. So they're very, very worthwhile for us to keep going and doing this.
Excellent. And it keeps you motivated as well, like you said, because you know you're making a difference.
It does.
It's not like you're doing something, it's like, oh, is it really helping? Yes, it's helping. You know it's helping.
It certainly
It's
is.
obvious immediately, especially with the questions they ask. Then you know they were listening.
Yeah.
And that's good.
True.
They didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't bore them.
Exactly. And you both bring them home when you we'll get into all that, but you have
them
had your If you could just explain that you have the little ones at home and the bats that need support and care.
Yes, yeah. Well, we, as well as doing rescues, we also look after them. I don't do the adult ones. We've got a lady who mostly does the adult ones because she works full time, so they really only need feeding once a day. And but for Pauline and I, we're both retired, so we can look after the babies, who can be on 5 bottles a day, and you can have multiple babies at one time. So when we get the babies in, baby season is usually early, starting is September and goes through to about December. So we have a fair few months where we can be pretty much not leaving our house much, but looking after the babies and
happy not to leave our house.
Yeah, and happy and bottle feeding them and looking after them, and it's the greatest joy in my whole life is to do that and to look after them, and it's an absolute honour to be a part of the life of a wild animal. It really is.
Have you felt that with any other animal you've come across, or is it?
I love all animals, but I've never sort of volunteered or worked in any great capacity with any other species like I do with flying foxes.
But there's something different and special about them.
They are incredibly special. There is something about, and we always say to people, when you look in their eyes, you're forever changed, because they've almost got this otherworldly look about them. It's just the knowing, and it's even when you go to rescue them, you know, a lot of animals kick and fight and scratch and that because they're terrified. Although flying foxes can sometimes, you know, turn around and be a little bit frantic. For the most part, they look at you and they know that you're here to help them. And
so you see them actually looking into your eyes. That visual connection.
They do. It is a connection that they've got that trust. And because they're so misunderstood by people who think they're, you know, nasty, evil, vampire-y, you know, this is the impression that people have. There could be nothing further from the truth. They are incredibly intelligent, kind, gentle animals. They really are beautiful.
Well, I've done possums and birds, and I've got to say that, and I did that before the bats, and I thought the possums were just delightful, and they are delightful, and the birds are fun, and they have a bit of an ego, so you know they rule the roost a bit in the house, and so that all the animals have their own personalities, a certain personality trait. What I found as soon as I saw my first flying fox baby is that when I looked into her eyes, I could see that it was like she accepted me, and I'm a human, and look how small they are to how large we are, and that she was able to look at me and feel safe. It's just that it's that look that they give you.
Yeah.
They return it to you, and they know. Like remember George when he picked up Joseph, and he said, "I knew he was talking to me. He knew that I was rescuing him. He knew I was saving him." You know, so
well, they would know. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's exactly what they do. Yeah.
So, what's the current size of the bat colony?
Well, we do fly-out counts, usually every month, but in the colder period of the year, we don't do them quite as often. The last count we did, the colony size was 34,700, but that's sounds like a large number, but that's taking into account all of the juveniles who are now flying out. So that time of the year, sort of March and April, the colony size is always greater because we're then counting the juveniles who are flying out, and because previous to that they were either being carried on board their mums or left in the trees while the mums fly out for food. So it's we're doing a count. We've got another count coming up on the 10th of June, Saturday the 10th of June, and any member of the public are quite welcome to come and join us too. It's a lot of fun, and so we're doing a count then, and the numbers are probably still reasonably high, but the numbers do go up and down considerably through the year depending on the weather, and the colony size will never ever get bigger than the amount of animals that can support it. So they will never stay around if there's no food sources around. So it's not like colonies will just keep growing and growing and growing. They're smart animals, and they will move on somewhere else if they don't have the food supply to sustain that number. So, you know, probably in winter we might be down to in the 20s, 25,000 as they move along the east coast. So it fluctuates from season to season quite a lot.
Okay. And what's the role of bats in the ecosystem?
Well, they have two specific roles as long distance seed dispersers and pollinators. So they can fly greater distances than other pollinators, birds and bees, and of course the eucalypts, the Australian eucalypts, mostly have their greatest flow of nectar at night when the birds and bees are asleep and the bats are out doing the work. So they spread the seeds and they cross-pollinate, and although they're not endemic to South Australia, having a healthy colony here in South Australia is important to all colonies up and down the east coast. And it's estimated that they do plant about 75% of all the hardwood eucalypts along the east coast. So all of those other animals who rely on trees to live in and to survive on, they need the flying foxes to do it, and that's why they're called a keystone species, because other plants and animals rely on them for their survival.
How far can they travel?
Up to 50 kilometres a night, but their whole range goes all along the east coast of Australia. It is a long way.
But how many times do they have to stop?
Oh, well, just depends if they find a food
twice.
source a lot. I mean, if
they need to stop?
They need to for sustenance.
Yes, they do, but but they will fly to wherever they can find a good food source. But if they can't find one for 50 k's, they will fly out that far. They might find one within 2 or 3 or 4. You know, it doesn't. It's different all the time. But wherever they find a decent food source, that is where they will fly to.
So we're in May. What are they doing at the moment?
Well, the juveniles now are probably flying quite far out now. When they first started flying out from the colony, it would have only been a 1 or 2 kilometres, but now they'd be going probably 10 kilometres, even 15, possibly now. But being on the hotline gives us the advantage that we know when the calls come in, we know the areas that they're in. So the eucalypt trees, which is their primary source of food, don't all flower each year. Mine, unfortunately, haven't flowered at all. Didn't flower last year.
I remember you saying that.
And this year I'm
Because of the
watching
weather.
those little gum nuts and I'm waiting for them to burst open. The tree in the front of my yard has got a lot of blossom, but my 2 huge trees in the back haven't. So I don't know, there's some trees that don't flower, that, you know, it's every 3 years, every 5 years. That means they have to actually go to different areas. And people ask us at the colony tours that we do, how do they know where the food is? Well, they just keep flying around, and then when they find it, they've obviously got a good memory, and they will go back there for possibly weeks because the trees are full of blossom and nectar. So they just keep going back, and when that's, you know, exhausted, they'll find elsewhere. So the juveniles are out doing that. There's pregnant females going out as well, and then the adult males, they sometimes you'll find that they keep an eye on the juveniles as well. So it's a real community.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time. They're very family oriented. They stick together.
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Very rarely
Very
you'll see
social.
one. Very rarely
Yeah.
you'll see one coming. And people say that they get thousands of or hundreds of bats coming into the one tree. Well, they're not actually hundreds. There could be 20, 25 because the tree couldn't
When they're
handle
feeding.
that many. But what they do is they fly out to go onto another branch. They see another branch that's got some blossom that hasn't been attacked by anybody, and they fly out and they'll fly back into the tree. So they think that there's more. They haven't seen the one fly out, and they see these other ones fly in. They go, oh no, there's hundreds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're
Lack of
vocal
understanding.
as well,
Oh,
aren't
very.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear them at night. They're in my mum's tree and they're around our area, but we've got to walk to the park to hear them. But at my mum's house, they're in the trees. And I was there the other night and they were all talking. I
Yes.
went out and said, oh, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
I could see them flying. Because the sky at the moment, like at night, it's sort of white from all the cloud
Yes.
as well, and you can see them clearly.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, has she
No,
got a
they
fig
are
tree?
vocal, yeah.
Is it a fig
No,
tree?
they're like the palms, crocus palms,
Oh
palms.
gosh, the palms. We hate them.
Yeah, because they get stuck on it. Or
Yeah, they're
what
not good.
happens?
Well, there's the palms that are toxic to animals, and then there's the palms that have got the leaf that you know, can rip their wings. And
She was actually saying she wants to get them pulled down. Is that a good
yeah.
idea?
Yeah, oh, I'd say
Yeah,
so.
yeah, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and plant something.
Because they're
else
there all the
that's-
time, so I thought, well, they must
I
be
know,
happy.
they are, but yeah,
But no, because she said
it's
she
not ideal.
right. She said she wanted to pull a few of them down because she's got lots, and they
Yeah.
sort of make a mess. Not the bats make a mess, but
Yeah,
they drop their
Yes.
the trees make
Yeah.
a lot of mess.
Yeah. So
But I thought I'd check that with you before I
Yeah.
said to her, cut them
trouble
down.
is, it's going to take
Yeah.
a long time for replacement trees to grow
Yeah.
to give them the benefit. So I don't know.
Mm.
That's me personally. I don't like them. I don't think they should be here in Adelaide.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
I mean, I remember you saying that it
Yeah.
can do damage, but I thought there were sort of certain types of trees that are a bit safer
Yeah.
of that family of tree.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
I
there's
think
different
that's
types.
probably
The
something that
branches
we.
are different, and
Yeah, you know what? That's probably something that
Yeah.
I'll do a bit of Dr. Googling on.
yeah.
Mr. Googling, Mrs. Googling.
And when do we call you for help? When we see them in the day and things like that. If you can just go through that.
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah.
we're
That's-
both on the hotline, so we're 24/7.
Yep.
And when we, you know, we've got rescuers that tell us on the database, we can tell who's available at certain times. So we've always got someone that's available
Yeah.
to come out as soon as possible. And the important thing is with hotline calls, what we're finding, not all the time, most of the time, people who ring us care about animals. They care
exactly.
about that they're suffering.
That's
they're,
true,
You know,
yeah.
and it is upsetting for them. They're the first people that have seen the animal in distress. So you can tell that they're anxious and would like someone there really quickly.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's not always really quickly. Probably half an hour could be the longest. We've maybe 45 minutes for someone to get there. And in a lot of cases, the member of public will stay there with the bat, especially when they're alive, because the thing is that if they're not laying on their back, because when they're laying on their back they can't do anything, they're immobilized, but if they're laying on their tummies, they will try to get high. They'll do whatever they can. So they'll climb fences, they'll climb rose bushes, they'll climb trees, they'll climb anything they can climb to get us off the ground, because they don't want to be, a victim to predators. And they're vulnerable because they're already injured. So we get people, we'll get someone out there definitely within 45 minutes, unless of course it's the Barossa, which it has happened, and I've been out to the Barossa. That took me an hour and a quarter to get to.
Oh, really?
And
you don't have people sort of outer areas?
No, we would love to, and there is a group out there that we will work with and try and do that. And she had been electrocuted in a fruit tree, a plum tree, and landed, so she was thrown off a line. And so that's probably the furthest I've gone. For one, it took me all and truly over an hour and a quarter to get there. However, here in the suburbs, where we mostly get our rescues, we can have rescuers there fairly quickly. So it's imperative that they ring us immediately they see a bat on their own, injured, during the day, away from the colony. They need to ring us, even if it's a waste of time. Like they think, oh well, maybe the bat's okay. Not maybe. You see them, you ring us, and then we can determine from that. And sending a rescuer out isn't a waste of time. Never.
It's never a waste of time.
That's
But
right.
we would rather have people go out and there's nothing to do than to have an animal suffer.
Good to hear that you say
and
that.
you said, what situations would people be called out? Well, anytime they see a flying fox outside of the colony, which are only colonies in Botanic Park, so anytime they see one outside of the colony during the day, whether they're on a power line, whether they're on a fence, whether they're on a tree, it doesn't matter. They will not be there by choice. They need to get back to their colony and they want to get back, but they either have an injury or an illness or something that is stopping them getting back. So the very most important thing we can say is if you ever see one outside of the colony during the day, please phone us immediately so we can get to them and hopefully make them better and get them back out to their home where they belong.
What's the number?
8486 1139.
Okay.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So is that the biggest danger, the electrocution to them? What are some other dangers as well?
Well, barbed wire, they get caught on barbed wire, which can be horrific, and they can get caught in fruit netting. Even temperatures, I think everybody probably realises now what heat stress does to them. We can lose thousands and thousands in hot weather, but even freezing cold weather too, they get affected a lot. They can get pneumonia and hypothermia. But things like really bad windy days, now Pauline and I have both had ones that have come in. We had a couple of days and nights where the wind was so strong it knocked trees down all over Adelaide. Well, they're out there flying at night and they're getting thrown against trees, they're getting thrown against buildings. I had a little girl who is now released, but she was found on her back in somebody's garden, obviously been thrown against the wall and landed on her back and couldn't get up. And she wasn't great for a while, but she recovered okay and has been released. But yes, weather conditions, they can be thrown, hit by a car. There's just many things, and of course people, they see them doing horrible things, even though they're protected and it's illegal to do anything to them, to harm them or in any way, it's illegal. So, but there many different things can happen to them.
So what temperature is it where they get hypothermia? What can they withstand? 4 degrees they're all right? 3 degrees?
Oh, I don't know. I know for heat, when it gets to about 42 is their meltdown temperature.
42?
Pretty much, 42. I mean, anything above 38, they really start struggling, but 42 is sort of depending on wind direction and depending on how long it's been at that temperature, how many hours it's been at that temperature, wind direction, all those kind of things into account. But normally once it reaches 42, that's when they all drop. For cold, I mean, they withstand cold a lot better than they do heat.
Because they've got that fur, haven't they? They've got fur
Yeah,
on
and they've got
them.
their own little raincoat, their wings that they can wrap
and they
around
wrap.
them.
So that's what they do when
So-
they're wrapping. They're
and-
keeping warm.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's how they always sleep. They're always wrapped up, and if you go out in a really nice sunny day, the colony, you'll see them open up their wings and stretching. They love to
Stretching,
get
I
the
know.
sun on them, but when it's cold, they wrap themselves up, and of course they're all very close together. They're not on top of each other, but they all stay. They like to be very close to each other as well. So
Can they
I
share
guess-
body heat like
I
that
guess
too?
that body heat probably
Yeah.
helps. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
nice watching them in the Botanic. I've
Oh,
been
it's
there a few
lovely.
times, and they're very visible. Like you can see them clearly. You can see their behaviour. You can see them stretching. You can. Some are
playing with
flying.
each
Some are not
other.
flying.
Yes. Yeah.
The
the-
males going to the females, the
Yeah,
females
yeah.
telling the males to, you know what.
and the little ones practicing flapping. It's
Yeah.
quite it's quite lovely to see the
Yeah.
little ones practicing flapping, and it's just so cute because
But they're still holding on though. But they're
Yeah,
flapping.
they're still
Yeah,
they're
right,
practicing
right.
getting warmed up
Oh my
for
God.
yeah
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yes.
gorgeous.
yeah.
And I will ask: do members of the public need to be scared of them?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I know the answer, but I will
Yes,
just ask
yeah.
again. Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we hear all sorts of stories. We read it in the paper, we hear it in the media, and you know, most of them are not factual at all. They're sensationalism, and we do not need to be scared of them. As I said, they're very kind, gentle animals. They don't want to fly down to humans. So, you know, we are a big worry to them. So they don't want to get near to humans. And the only thing that a human can catch from a bat is Australian bat lyssavirus, and less than 1% of the entire population carry it. And the only way you could get that is to be bitten or scratched by an infected animal. So it has to go into your bloodstream and be activated into your bloodstream via infected saliva. But considering there's very few of them out there that actually have lyssavirus, so, but we always say no touch, no risk. So if you never touch one, you will never ever be able to catch anything from
Exactly.
a flying fox. We're rabies vaccinated, so we can touch them, but we'll be the ones who would be likely to come into contact with any if they have lyssavirus because they're quite sick by it, and they will, you know, and we will probably go in to rescue them, whatever. But it's a very, very slim chance that any of us would encounter one with lyssavirus.
That's right.
So definitely not scared. They don't fly down and get tangled in your hair like a lot of common myths are.
Yeah.
They stay as far away
And
as
they
they
don't
can
live in your
from us.
backyard either.
And they don't live in
For
your
9
backyard. They go to
months.
visit. They go to visit for some food, and they'll be back in the colony during the day. So
We get told
No
some funny
danger at
things
all.
on hotline, don't we?
we sure do.
Really?
Yes.
Yes,
Love
we
it.
do.
Yeah, like they've lived in my backyard for 9 months.
You know. Yeah, too.
Yes, and my daughter is pregnant, and we had one flying into our tree. So is she going to lose the baby? That is dead
And
set
the kids,
truth. Well, I
and
heard
the
that
kids
one.
can't play in the backyard because the bats have
Mm.
pooed and wee, but you know what, the kids poo and wee is toxic, the bats poo and wee isn't.
Because they're eating nectars.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't catch
Vitamins.
anything.
Juice.
You
Yeah.
cannot catch anything from
From
their
them.
urine, feces, blood, or anything else. So unless you get bitten by an infected one, you know,
Yeah.
you're safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, do you have anything coming up, events or anything like that, where people can learn about things and bookings and things like
Yes,
that?
we're busy.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We've been busy, and we've got a few things coming up still. We've got the Flying Fox Fly Out Count, 10th of June, that people
Yeah, that's
can
right, yeah.
join us to. If they go onto our Facebook page, Bats of Adelaide City, that event will be posted very soon, so people know where to meet and what time to come. And this Sunday we've got we're at the Million Paws Walk for the RSPCA.
Oh, is that?
So we have a stall there, so if
Okay.
anyone would like to learn more about the bats while we're out there, because we're right opposite the colony there, so we're happy to give our information and chat to people about our flying foxes while we're there at the Million Paws. And we've got things like Vegan Palooza coming up, the Gawler show.
Show, the end of August.
And yeah, so there's always something. We've got a lot planned, but always things just turn up in between as well. So we try to get as much as we can done before baby season, before we're housebound with babies.
And we were at the Animal Expo too, and that we got a lot of leads there, and particularly what I was surprised at, which I was surprised that I didn't think of it myself, is 2 4-wheel drive clubs, each on one on Saturday and one on Sunday, came and asked if we'd come and talk to the members, and I thought, wow, I never thought of that, because they would be out there and would see injured wildlife, particularly if a deceased wildlife is on the road, and then there's obviously the raptors that come down to eat, and then they get hit as well, so it's double death, which isn't good. And if they see a kangaroo and it's like Joey, what do? And wombats, so many wombats are killed on the roads.
Oh, I know.
So many.
Wow, we got to talk about all that other stuff too. I know you've got some contacts for us here at the station to talk to people about that.
Because I just thought that it was just interesting how they thought that it was a great idea for us to go and talk. And obviously microbats, because microbats hit windscreens and things like that. So,
they're so little.
and we've had a lot of calls. Yeah, those tiny little ones. Yeah.
And in winter they like finding somewhere nice and warm to go, so they can find themselves in all sorts of places.
So you said earlier before we started that someone found one in their house because it was trying to get warm. So if we find one in our house, we don't panic, we just relax, nothing's wrong, they're just trying to warm up, and call you.
And call us, that's right. And we'll give them, if they're not injured, we just give them over the phone instructions on what to do, and usually it's as simple as turning your lights off inside the house, opening a window and a door, putting an outside light, because they're insect eaters. They're totally different from flying foxes, so they're insect eaters. So you put a light on, the insects will be buzzing around the light, and the microbats will go out. So they can be very simple fixes, but don't panic, and just call Fauna Rescue Bat Hotline and we'll help them.
Yeah, and don't. I know it sounds weird to say, but don't injure it, don't kill it. It's illegal to do that, isn't it?
Oh yes, it is. Yes, and a lot of people think they're helping by doing the most bizarre things. So, and that's not just bats; that's all wildlife. So, don't, please, people, just phone your local wildlife group who knows how to treat injuries properly. Because we hear some terrible stories that make the animals worse. So, call somebody who knows what they're doing with wildlife.
All right. And volunteer roles as well, if people want to help and join the team?
Yes, we've got a lot of volunteer roles, and we are 100% volunteer organisation, so we don't have any paid staff whatsoever. Our funding comes from the general public, and so therefore we do rely on people who are working and are happy to do something one day a month, or night time maybe, and go on the database for rescues. Transporting, caring, food prepping for the bats in January, February, March, April time of the year. They can do as little as they want, a couple of hours, a couple of days, whatever. And what else is there?
Donations and things like
donations
that.
would be
warm blankies for the little ones when you're taking care of them.
I got a call this afternoon from a scout group, and they want a presentation, someone to come and talk about wildlife, what to do when you find wildlife. But at the same time, they're getting the scouts to go around the house and find things that will help animals when they're being looked after, so that we don't have to go out and buy them. So like blankets and old socks and that's just anything. But ring the hotline, talk to the hotline, and then you can find out where you can drop these donations off. But there are a lot of things that you can do. You can help us with our events. We could do with people to help us unpack the car, repack the car, setting up,
handing out
brochures, spreading the word. Look, it's as little as or as much as.
Okay, that's good. Let's get that number again, and also your email.
It's the hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's 8486 1139. They can also go onto the Fauna Rescue page, which is faunarescuesa.org.au, and also our email for the Talking Batty. And if they've got any questions about anything, they can always direct them to us too, and we'll follow them up. So that's talkingbatty@gmail.com.
And you're on Instagram as well.
Yes, Instagram is Talking Batty Education
Yeah.
Team.
Okay, so is there anything else we've missed and anything else you would like to say? I'm just checking we've
Just
got
the
everything covered.
General hotline, so if anyone finds other species other than bats, because the bats have their own dedicated line, the other general hotline is 8289 0896, and
and once again, if you don't mind.
8289 0896, and some hotline operators would be handy there, because they do roughly 4-hour shifts. They work from home, so if you're bored or if you've got time up your sleeve, if you'd like to help, because it's extremely rewarding, because you're the first responder, basically you're the first person, member of public. You know, if we want to save wildlife, it starts with the member of public who makes that call. You're next, then you get a rescuer to go. There's nothing better than to know that an animal has just been saved because of your input.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a great feeling.
Yes, it is a great feeling.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure we
for
definitely
having
covered
us.
everything, Daddy.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
sure.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yes, I think, unless you've got any further questions, but yes, I think
We
we've got
can-
all the main things. And as we always say, if there's only one thing you ever take away from our events or our interviews, it's if you see a bat outside the colony during the day, please let us know, because they shouldn't be there. No, they need help.
That's a good one. We can all remember that.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks
again.
again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.